Hello!
Hello! It's good to see you again.
Welcome back to Film Cafe. It's been a while. We're going to talk about Guillermo del Toro today.
We watched Crimson Peak.
And we really enjoyed it.
Yeah, we really enjoyed it. So we decided we will talk about it. It was released in 2015. It stars the magnificent Tom Hiddleston and Mia Wasikowska. And it's directed by the wonderful Guillermo del Toro. Oh, we didn't introduce our snacks or tea. We are drinking some Sri Lankan tea.
It's green tea with flowers in it. And I'm eating donuts and chocolate because I'm not the healthy one, she is.
So Iris and I were talking on our way back from the screening. We made different comparisons between food and directors, and we settled on basically Guillermo del Toro being like dark chocolate with like strawberry jam oozing out everywhere.
Cherries.
And cherries, yeah, cherries. Oh. No matter how much blood and gore there is in it, you just want to eat the thing because it's so densely, beautifully coloured.
Okay, let's start. I'm a very big Tom Hiddleston fan. So for me, his acting is just amazing. I feel like this and Only Lovers Left Alive should like basically be a double feature because he's just so good in them and they have a similar feel.
Mia Wasikowska was also very, very good. When she acts, she really surprises me with how precise and pronounced she projects her character. It's terrific. She's different in every film that I've seen with her in.
She's very good. She's basically very good in every movie that I've seen of her so far. And she's so beautiful, which really helps in this story. Guillermo has very, very beautiful films in that they are very elaborate in what they show or don't show, because in some of his movies he deliberately doesn't show stuff just to make it slightly more creepy.
Yeah. You're very... Actually, I completely agree with you. I didn't think of that up until now. Especially in Pan's Labyrinth. He is terrific with tension.
He also made Pacific Rim, which is like more of a sci-fi kind of story, but even in that movie you can still feel his artistic influence. Basically everything in his movies is showing cracks in some way or another. The people in Crimson Peak are pretending that they're just the most normal and polite and amazing people. The same happens with Pacific Rim and with Pan's Labyrinth, and basically they're all about people not living up to what they are portraying originally. You can see that in the cinematography and the set design and in the fact that there's often a lot of emptiness in his sets. There are very few characters walking around.
There's a lot of detail within the shots. Bearing in mind I've only seen Pan's Labyrinth and Crimson Peak, two very different but very... Just the detail that goes into those films is equal. There's just so much going on in the frame, and then with Crimson Peak it was different because the majority of the film takes place in this mansion, and there's a lot of emphasis being paid to the mansion, which is a metaphor in itself for the condition of Tom and Jessica's characters. It encapsulates what it is that they're trying to do, which is to keep something alive that's deteriorating and that's not healthy in the first place and covered in mold. But it's very beautiful. It's very beautiful.
We're not really making a case here.
But he does... I really like his use of visual symbolism and the way that he uses cinematic language to speak to the audience and to draw it in. I feel his films are very easy to follow, and it's very easy to read his films from a film student's perspective and deconstruct them and absorb what's going on and understand what he's saying with this shot or that shot. There was like an emphasis on butterflies somewhere in the film, I remember. It's been a while.
Moths and butterflies.
Yeah, moths and butterflies.
Yeah.
And then that is later incorporated into the dresses. Like, in a way, actually, because Mia Wasikowska wears this huge gown.
It's wonderful.
It's amazing. But all the costumes are amazing. But she's like the warmth, the warm butterfly, and then Jessica Chastain is like this old moth trying to, you know...
Eat her!
Trying to eat her, yes.
Well, the costumes are just generally great in every movie that he has done.
After I finished watching Crimson Peak, I was suddenly really in the mood for Gothic literature, because he really just, he brought it to life in every sense, like through the colours, through the music, through the actors that he chose, through the cinematography, through everything. It was terrific the way that he encapsulated that genre.
Well, he has this exhibit coming up of all the weird and wonderful stuff he's collected over the years. Some of which has made it into the movies. I really want to go, but it's like in America somewhere.
Oh. So in London.
I wish!
What about, should we talk about the characters? We didn't talk much about the characters and how screwed over they are.
But that's sort of the whole thing of... well, I feel like probably Pacific Rim is one of the exceptions when it comes to his filmography, in that there is actually hope at the end of the story. Where I did not really feel like either the Pan's Labyrinth or Crimson Peak really did that.
I think they were both really bittersweet in the end. So with Pan's Labyrinth, in that the girl... Okay, spoiler alert. So the girl dies, but she joins her parents, and there's more emphasis paid to her spiritual reunion with them and the mystical world rather than the real world. And then the fact that, well, Tom's character had to die. I really like their approach to this, because they were mentioning this in the Google talk about how they were trying to give female characters more of a just a stronger ending. The female character in this film, in Crimson Peak, had to overcome her hurdles on her own, and she had to kind of save... She was basically saving Tom's character.
Yes, she was. So, the way Tom described it, it isn't a gothic horror movie, it's a gothic romance. It's about the character, and it's about the relationships these characters have with each other. I do indeed like very much the fact that they have these female characters that are actually just amazing and that are surviving at the end, where instead of the woman giving up her life for the man, it's the other way around.
And bear in mind that both of the female characters are very strong. You've got one, like, crazy, totally gone off the charts antagonist, and you've got one really, really strong and complex protagonist. I mean, you've got the guy who kind of tries to help. I think he was the doctor, wasn't he?
Yeah, the doctor.
He ends up getting wounded. Okay, Tom's character dies. We already established this. And then basically the girls just battle it out.
So Pan's Labyrinth, we have a strong female character, and Pacific Rim definitely has a strong female character. In Pacific Rim, you can argue who is the lead, but in Crimson Peak, it's definitely the female characters taking the lead. Although Tom Hiddleston is, of course, one of the attractions to the movie, because he is a star and he is naked in this movie.
You had to mention that. Well, we did, yes. I just want to say I totally agree with what Tom Hiddleston said on the Graham Norton show.
We like that he is very pro male nudity. He wants more male nudity in movies, which we agree with. There is not an equal balance between female nudity and male nudity in films currently. Guillermo really does like his mythology.
Didn't a lot of Victorian Gothic literature draw from that as well?
Yes. His fascination with myth and storytelling comes back a lot. He is also a very good writer.
Okay, so he wrote it. Guillermo del Toro, written by him and Matthew Robbins. I was going to say he's very good at structuring his screenplay for a build-up of tension. I would definitely say that in both Crimson Peak and Pan's Labyrinth, that was terrific. Especially key scenes within one frame and one space of time. He really knows how to pack, how to film it so that it exerts as much participation from the audience as possible. And particularly the climax, I think, for Crimson Peak, that was brilliantly shot and written.
Oh, definitely.
And especially, I'm thinking of the scene in Pan's Labyrinth where she, you know the guy? That scene.
The guy that creeps her out.
The guy that would creep any normal human being out. With eyeballs in his hands, who does this?
I'm abnormal. It also now becomes clear that she did the screenwriting course and I didn't. If we're going into special effects, we need to mention that he's not only doing CGI, but he's also doing a lot of practical effects. So most of the people in Hellboy and most of the people in Pan's Labyrinth are actually actors in almost full makeup. It does bring a lot of beautiful, beautiful results.
I think it also contributes to the values that the director has on a set. It's better for the actors when you can see what it is that you're acting with.
Yes.
And I think they mentioned that in the Google Talk as well, that they shot on location in this massive mansion and it looked the way it did. Not a single detail isn't given or shed light upon. So he really, shows off the talent of these people who are working with him.
Definitely.
And you mentioned that it was the same makeup guy, right? Who was the thing in Pan's Labyrinth.
Ape Sapien in Hellboy and the eye person in Pan's Labyrinth and one or two of the ghosts in Crimson Peak are all the same guy. Doug Jones is a miracle of a man when it comes to these things. Andy Serkins is the guy when you want motion capture. Doug Jones is the guy you want when it comes to full practical makeup. Because when he acts in Guillermo del Toro's stuff, it's just amazing. He is a very tall and skinny guy, which is exactly why he fits the monster person description very well.
He actually looks a little bit like David Bowie.
I really like the fact that he films in so many different countries. That he really he's filmed in Mexico. Pan's Labyrinth was filmed in Spain, and then you had Crimson Peak was filmed in America, I think. He really goes to a lot of different places, and his stories are also set in completely different places. Pacific Rim is set in Tokyo. Pan's Labyrinth is set in Spain during the Civil War. And then you have Crimson Peak, which is set in America. Hellboy is set in a very urban environment, I think like San Francisco or something.
I think that goes to show that he really has a vivid imagination.
Yeah, and it goes to show how versatile he is. He might have a very deliberate and recognizable style, but he is very versatile in that he can shoot in city-like environments, sci-fi, he does gothic, he does fable. It's
nice when a director that you love does something completely different and unexpected each time. Well, not totally, but just doesn't stick to the same thing and just reproduces for the sake of, oh well, I'm an auteur, I'm just going to...
Well, I feel that it also just has a lot to do with the fact that he has creatures in every movie. Ghosts in Crimson Peak, and
beautiful ghosts.
And there are weird eye creatures and a faun in Pan's Labyrinth, and you have the giant sea monsters in Pacific Rim and Hellboy himself.
I remember what we wanted to mention. The ghosts.
The whole thing that the ghosts were not actually able to speak.
This shows you how Del Toro thought all of this through. So apparently one ghost couldn't communicate properly because she was hung. Understandable. Another couldn't communicate because she had a cleaver in her head. The third couldn't communicate because... Oh no, the third one did! But she did so, just by pointing through her body, not by speaking. She's the only one that can speak and she didn't. For anyone who thought that was a huge flaw, Del Toro thought it through before you.
Well, but he does that with everything. He really thinks everything through.
Yeah. But he did have me for a second there, I thought. But then why wouldn't they just say it?
I also feel like one of the reasons why Crimson Peak really worked, well, the word crimson is in the title. There is this very beautiful contrast between like white snow and like red like clay and dirt, which looks very much like blood. I feel that really added to the atmosphere. Just the very vivid color contrasts.
You're
just
right.
added so much. And where Crimson Peak has that, most of his other movies actually don't have that vivid contrast. They are very muted in colors. Pan's Labyrinth, to me, is a very muted film.
Really? I think that film was very... There was yellow and blue, to me. Those are the two hues that I remember.
Well, it's been like 5 years since I've seen it, so...
But I agree with what you said. His cinematic style is something easy for me to get on with and easy to read, because the metaphors and the messages come alive through the colour. Everything has a relationship to something else. Something's not just in there because he thought it looked pretty.
No.
It's all got a purpose, and everything feeds into itself. So as the film unfolds, the messages unfold, the visual clues unfold, and the roles of the colours in representing the characters and personifying the themes, it really takes on towards the end. You might want to go and buy yourself a little something and watch that little something whilst eating red velvet cake with chocolate.
And drink some cherry tea with it. If you have any ideas for movies that we should watch and review, please leave a comment in the comment section down below there. And we'll look into it and maybe come back to you, or maybe just shoot the video and not tell you and surprise you.